Immokalee, Florida, hot, humid, and home to thousands of migrant workers who board buses early every morning, bound for tomato farms scattered throughout the region. Immokalee is the epicenter of tomato production in the United States. Florida produces 90% of the country's winter tomatoes. It also used to be ground zero for modern-day slavery in agriculture.
We found out that workers were being held by armed guards, prevented from leaving, pistol whipped, some sexually assaulted.
Laura Germino is one of the founders of the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, or CIW, a grassroots nonprofit that began in 1993 to improve wages and working conditions of migrant farm workers.
Initially, it was not an anti-slavery organization or anti-human trafficking organization, but in the course of our outreach, we began to come across situations where workers were being held against their will.
Since then, the CIW's anti-slavery program has uncovered and helped the U.S. government prosecute several horrific cases of forced labor on tomato farms. In one of those cases, just 10 years ago, farm workers were locked inside a truck at night.
It was a dozen workers housed in a windowless box truck, forced to be in there at night, sleep in there at night, use the bathroom in there at night. One of them held out his hands and you could see the marks from the chains, which his wrists have been chained with.
That case was so shocking, CIW decided to buy a box truck that was the exact make and model as the one used in the case, and turn it into a mobile museum, highlighting other cases of forced labor from the past 20 years. Today, the CIW has a staff of 17 people, nearly all of them former migrant farm workers themselves. And their focus is no longer uncovering cases of slavery, it's preventing it from happening in the first place.
Forced labor has been virtually eradicated, and if it were to take root, it would be identified and dealt with really quickly.
They do that through an innovative initiative called the Fair Food Program. Participating growers allow CIW staff to come onto their farms and hold mandatory education sessions for all workers. They're given booklets that outline their rights and a hotline to call if they experience violations. The growers also agree to regular third-party inspections of their farms. A team of auditors speaks confidentially with at least 50% of workers to ensure their rights are being respected. Laura Safer Espinoza is a former Supreme Court justice for the state of New York. She now spends her retirement in Florida, running the Fair Food Standards Council, which oversees the audits.
Places that were called ground zero for modern-day slavery by federal prosecutors a few years ago are now cited by national and international human rights experts as the best work environment in U.S. agriculture.
And there are real market consequences at the top of the supply chain if violations are found. That's because many of the largest buyers of tomatoes have also joined the program, agreeing to purchase tomatoes only from farms that are part of the agreement. The Fair Food Program started in Florida and now covers 7 states in the eastern part of the U.S. Carlos Hernandez spends the tomato growing season in Florida. In the off-season, he travels to the western U.S., where he says it's much different.
Sometimes, when you don't work fast enough, they threaten to fire you. Well, that doesn't happen here. There are better protections here.
When we get calls from outside the Fair Food Program, it is heartbreaking.
There are roughly 30,000 people currently working on Fair Food Program farms and receiving all the protections and benefits outlined in the agreement. But there's still a long way to go to bringing the rest of the country on board. Amara Walker, CNN.